Thank you for sticking around. You're still watching VBuzz with me, Shankri and Juanita. Now, Nita, before the break, we watched this new series, right, about tabla on V Tempo, and I really love how there was this fusion where he was playing the tabla, but he was doing like a modern tune to it. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. But that's something that we can appreciate, I guess, growing up here in Malaysia, right? Growing up in an Asian culture that's pretty heavily influenced by the Western lifestyle, many of us Malaysians have at one point or another asked ourselves, do I embrace my ingrained cultural roots or do I reject them for a westernized liberal ideology? Well, the upcoming production LEILA by Liverlung Productions explore this tug-of-war dilemma that many of us have faced. Here today to talk about this compelling production are Shafeeq, Shajahan and Debra, Nita. Welcome to VBuzz, guys.
Hello. Hi.
All right, you guys, let's dive right into this. Tomorrow is the show. It's happening tomorrow at DPAC. But before that, let's talk about the both of you. Now, when did you both develop this love for arts and performing? Nita? Debra, Nita?
So, I think I've been doing singing and performing probably since I was like 13. But I was so afraid of being on stage. And I think the more the fear disappeared, the more I loved performing. So I would say, I guess, about 10 years ago. And I've just been loving it more and more ever since.
Very nice.
And what about you, Shafeeq?
So I've been doing theatre since I was about 15. And I went to London and then I did lots of musical theatre there. And I performed, but I think I slowly started not liking performing as much as I like directing. That's my thing. I love directing.
Okay.
And I think why I like it is because I'm giving an idea to an audience and I'm emancipating them and I'm making them think and evoking like a strong emotional response in them. And that's what really like gets me turned on with theatre. So yeah, that's why I like theatre.
I can see the passion just coming right through that answer just now.
That's what I like.
Very nice. Did you undergo any training in the performing arts, Debra?
I've had no formal training. It's just getting to lots of opportunities, performing. In church, I did singing in choirs, in bands, we did musicals, and then just finding opportunities outside to perform. So no formal training.
But she's amazing. She's a great singer. So you don't need formal training.
And we'll be hearing her sing in a while. But what about you, Shafeeq?
I did my GCSEs and A-levels in drama at Garden International in Malaysia. And I had the best drama teachers. Then when I went to university, I probably did more theatre than I did my degree. Don't tell my mum that. She's watching. She's watching. And that's probably the most kind of training I did. I did a lot of dance there as well. So,
right. Now, speaking about your tertiary education, both of you ventured into very different education backgrounds. You're an economics graduate and you're a law graduate. It's so different from the arts. Now, what kept you away from immediately pursuing the arts? Was it fear? Was it insecurity? And what really drew you to the arts scene?
I never immediately, I mean, I've always been doing art. It's always been part of my life and it will never stop being part of my life. And I'm gonna kind of blow my own horn and say that I think I've managed to time manage and do all these things at the same time. I have a great corporate career and I want to maintain that. And I don't think, and the elements of my corporate career that have helped my art and the elements of my art that have helped my corporate career. So it's kind of a duality thing. Never fear, never fear.
And the lawyer?
Yeah, so, well, I did law, but I'm actually pursuing more in the media and corporate sector. I think we've just found a way to make it work. We are really driven towards what we want in our career, but at the same time we make time to do what we really care about as well on the side. And it can be done. You can do both, and you can do really well in both.
It definitely is exhausting.
We're happy.
Very
happy.
Yeah, that's great. I think, you know, parents should encourage kids more to kind of find a balance between the two and always try to manage your time, because you can do everything. There's so much to do, and you know, we want to try.
You have only one life.
Everything.
Do everything, right?
Exactly. So Shafeeq, you started up the Liver and Lung Productions. What was the motivation behind this?
So I'd done lots of musical theatre in London, and I came back after university and I had kind of like migration blues. I was a bit down. I'd gone through a few things. So I said, okay, look, I need to bring all the things I've learned from London here to KL. How do I do that? And I was like, you know what, let's do this. So I created this company with my friend in London. Her name's Hannah Shields, and we do fringe musicals that kind of push the voice of the unheard. And we also kind of bring new innovative things to theatre, and that's what the Liver and Lung brand is about. And I've been doing it for 1.5 years, and it's been pretty successful. So,
Tell us about what inspired you to call it Liver and Lung.
Oh,
Oh,
Yes.
wow. So now we
You
have
beat
a
us
third
to
host
it.
on the show. I was just about to call it. I was just about to ask that question. Liver and lung, pretty, different.
Yeah, for a
weird.
production, for a production
production,
company,
yeah.
it's a very different
It's
name.
because, well, I told you I was feeling a bit down. I was like lying in bed one day, and then I felt like I was like so upset, so kind of churningly like annoyed at life.
Yeah.
I was 21, so you know how it feels.
Yeah.
And you feel like I felt this huge pain in my chest and this huge pain in my stomach, and I realized, oh, my liver, my hearty, and my lungs are like where my air and where my emotions are created. So that's the kind of theatre I want to create. I want to create theatre that shakes up your emotions and pushes your boundaries.
Yeah.
So that's
pretty scientific, because scientifically your liver does hold the emotions, right, of anger and whatnot. So that's pretty interesting. Correct, doctor?
Yes. Well, okay. The focus is on
verify.
that.
I wanted to verify very quickly.
But you have used this all these emotions to come up with an upcoming project. Laila, tell us about the theme behind Laila and Laila.
So it was a concept that I came up with 1.5 years ago, and I realized that being Malaysian Indian, it can be quite difficult. Especially being Malaysian Indian Muslim like me. Because there is this complete dichotomy between trying to hop on to liberal, modern ideologies, fourth wave feminism and the new cultural movement, but also hold on to those kind of cultural ideas that your parents and your grandparents taught you. And that kind of balance is very difficult. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, why don't I try to portray the cultural side through Kathak dance, and then the modern, sensual, sexual kind of things I learned in London to flamenco dance, and then the idea just kind of came to realization.
He was almost dancing through that answer. I really like you, Shafeeq.
You gotta dance through life. You gotta dance through life.
Yeah, that's really interesting that is happening now. Can you guys tell us what are your different roles in Laila and Laila?
I'll go first. So, I primarily sing, and with me is a band. There's a tabla player, sitar, guitar, and piano player. In the whole musical, everyone plays a different role, and it's more towards the west or the east, through dancing or through acting. My role is actually to bring it all together, singing Indian songs and Spanish songs, also with English, and try to fuse the whole thing together and basically bring everything together as a fusion. And I'm the only one who has to play both roles, and it's really quite hard, because I mean, how do you move between Spanish and Indian while singing in English?
That's been the big challenge.
Yeah, and the interesting challenge that I found was I felt more connected towards the Spanish side, because it was more Western and something that I'm used to. And that's sad, because, I'm Indian, I'm Malaysian, I'm Asian, and it took me a lot more effort to try to get back into my Indian ethnic roots. But I love that this musical gave me an opportunity to really tap into it, learn from my grandma, who is a Sangeetam teacher, and she plays the veena, and learn from the sitar player and the tabla player, and it's just been a great cultural, spiritual journey.
Fantastic. That sounds so cool. But the theme of Laila and Laila, as you said, it's a comparison between Spanish and Indian. But why Spanish specifically, Shafeeq?
So I grew up listening to a lot of Indian music, and there's this kind of feeling that you get when you listen to Indian music, like bhajans or anything, and it's kind of spiritual and it kind of puts you in a trance-like state. When you listen to Spanish music, it's the same thing. They call it alma, they call it passion, they call it sensuality. And it took me a really long time to realize that the feeling of ecstasy when you listen to Indian music and the feeling of ecstasy when you listen to Spanish music, it's actually the same thing. And that's what the show was about. It's trying to say that sensuality and sexuality, it's actually very similar to spirituality and feeling like home. So it's actually not that hard to be both Western and Eastern. You just have to find the balance, which is what Laila is about.
Yes, and also you specifically picked Kathak and flamenco. Why so? Why these two types of dance? Why not? There's so many different dances in the.
It's because traditionally those two dances have always been compared. They have similar rhythmic footsteps. They have similar hand movements, and they're just fascinating to watch. So I thought it was just a very cool aesthetic to put them both together. And we've been working with the best Kathak dancer.
Oh yes.
His name is Nitin Shirale, and he's like very great at the ICC, and he's established himself well. And we've got this really cool flamenco dancer named Rihanna Aisha, who's really young. She's a university student. To have these kind of like young sexy Spanish dancer with this old guru dancing and battling on stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like-
It really is a battle. You should come. You should watch it.
It sounds like it's going to be so passionate.
I know. You know, Nita, I watched the teaser. They were showing the footwork, and I'm like, how does one even do that? How does one even do that?
They move so quickly as
Yeah.
well, and it's really a great match with the feet and with the emotions.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely excited.
It's really therapeutic to perform.
Ah,
Yeah,
sure it
I'm
is.
Sure. So can you tell us more of how these two cultures are going to be reflected in the artistic aspects of the production? You said singing is going to be switching, right, from in English, but Spanish and in Indian.
Yeah.
What else?
So some songs, well, all the songs, actually most of the songs have English singing in it, but some have both Spanish language and Indian, and we actually move between the two throughout the song. It's quite difficult to describe, so you have to come and watch to find out.
We also try to compare it using spoken words. So we've been working with Melissa, who's a very famous spoken word artist now, and I spit some like rap or spoken word that's kind of inspired by Gabriel Garcia Lorca, who's a Spanish artist, and she does spoken word that's inspired by Tagore, who's an Indian artist.
Right.
So we've been using spoken word, dance, and music to kind of compare the two worlds, and very convoluted, but we managed to make it work.
Right. Now, I did notice that in one of your previous production called Heart and Music, you have a very different approach to the setting of the theatre itself, which is called the in the round setting. So you have everyone, usually it's on stage, and then you have the audience sitting and watching the performance, but this is very different, you guys. They have their audiences sitting in a circle. So it's a more intimate setting. Is it going to be the same with LEILA and
It's
LEILA?
not going to be the same, but
Oh,
I'm really
okay.
glad you pointed that out, because that's the perfect way to describe what Live and Lung does. We really try to like push you into getting the biggest emotional response for you. So we like playing with those kind of things. I have a new show coming up, which is the end of May, which will be in the round, and it's going to be set in a cafe. So it's based on Masuri. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They've already started rehearsals, and we're not even done with this one.
it's
So
for
definitely
Malaysian
look
legends
out.
told through the eyes of an autistic young boy, and it's set in the round in a cafe.
How do you even come up with all these stories and this?
I'm just a little bit crazy.
Yeah, with the perfect kind of crazy we need in this world.
Exactly. You need to come in and give us a talk on how to, come up with creative ideas and also time management, man, because I don't know how
Exactly.
you do it.
It's
But
a lot of copy.
tell us about the other roles, the other characters in the musical.
Yeah, sure. So I'll tell you about my character. His name is Samir, and he's a London boy. He's got a top knot. He's really cocky, and he comes back thinking Malaysia's too beneath him. And he comes back to meet Rani, who is his ex-lover in London, and she's getting married. And he barges in on her wedding day, and they try to see whether their previous romance had anything. Is there any possibility in continuing? And we'll see how it plays out. And he's so kind of confident about why he chose to stay in London, and she's so confident about why she chose to come home, and they kind of blame each other for why their previous relationship failed. But no one's really sure of anything.
And then with the dancers, so the dancers, the Katak and the flamenco dancer, they actually reflect the battle that's going on between Samir and Rani.
So
And
I
so-
talk about like a lot of my sensual experiences, and Rihanna, the flamenco dancer,
She
comes on.
actualizes it through her dance.
All right.
And she and Rani, Melissa, she talks about her home and her culture, and then the Kathak dancer comes out and realizes it.
Don't give away too much, you guys. I can't wait for it tomorrow. Now, I know how. We've interviewed so many people coming in, people who have producing theater and performing artists. They come in and usually they're under so much of pressure. They'll be like, oh my God, my show is in 2 weeks' time, my show is in a month's time, and I can't handle the stress. Your show is tomorrow, and I've not seen any of our guests more chill than the both of you
And I
guys.
have 9 to 5 jobs. with demanding
Exactly.
bosses.
Now
9 to
tell me,
6. It's 9 to 6.
how are the rehearsals, the pre-production? What's happening?
Yeah.
How has it been?
It's been great. I mean, we actually spent most of our rehearsals in his house, and his
My mum
mom
cooks a really good
mom
dinner.
cooks dinners for us, and I think just being in a comfortable, homey place, and the chemistry between all of us is just great. We enjoy each other's company, and because we're bringing really different experiences, the West and Eastern, not just that, but also different backgrounds. Some of us are in media, and some of us in other fields. we all bring something to the table, and we love that we get to learn from each other.
That's what art should be. Art should be emancipating. Art should be therapeutic. Art should be helping you deal with your inner demons and battles. And that's what the process should be. So if people are fretting over how disorganized they are, then it's not art. Art should just come.
Yeah.
It's not that we're not like zero nervousness. Of course we do, but because we've rehearsed so much, but we've rehearsed so much, and we're ready for this, and we're excited about it. So. So
I
we're
think
gonna
that's
go
the
for
way
it.
to go, to be ready and to be confident with it, you know, go and take it full force. So what is the message, the one message that you will be trying to convey with Laila?
I think the message is, don't fret too much about the difficulty to balance two what seems to be conflicting ideas. Find the balance yourself internally, because it's possible. I have done it. I think I have. Yeah.
All right. And what about you, Debra?
What's the main message? I think to look around, so we're in Malaysia, look around and see what are we missing out. We're missing out so many cultural things that we can really embrace, and this opportunity has given me the chance to embrace that, and I think every Malaysian should too.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming in and talking to us, Debra and Shafeeq. We wish you all the best for Laila tomorrow.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you guys, and all the best in the world. All the best of luck in the world. Now, you guys, if you do want to catch LEILA, it's happening tomorrow on the 22nd and on the 23rd of April at Damansara Performing Arts Centre. Do get your tickets, because I heard it's selling really, really fast.
Yes.
I'm buying many tickets too.
Fantastic. You can give me one. No.
Yes, we'll go
I'll buy
together
it.
on a date, and perhaps we'll do our cross-cultural dance ourselves. How's that,
Okay,
Nita?
can. Shangri sounds very good. Now we are going to speak to Edwin Anand, or aka Chorus Hooks, after the break. See you in a bit.